Today's live, we're going to be talking about the beauty of community on your twin flame journey. I'm really looking forward to getting into this subject. Today, we have Christine and Deb with us, and we're going to just really be diving in on what's been the important aspect of a community really going into your twin flame journey, because it's not too normal to have multiple people in your regular life who are moving through the twin flame journey. So to have a community who is going in the same direction as you and are also experiencing a lot of the same things that you're experiencing in your twin
Mm.
flame journey and having that support and love is really, really crucial. I've been a part of this community going on 6 years here in January. And I have to say, there has been so many times where I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. I wanted to be like, forget this. I am done. I will just settle for a soulmate because it's so much easier. But my community really deeply loved me and really encouraged me to keep just moving through whatever upset was coming up in my union, really just moving through any obstacle that was coming up by using the mirror exercise. But really, it was their support and their unconditional love that really kept me grounded and moving forward. And so I just love that we have just a huge just amount of people in the community now. It has really jumped up there. And I love the diversity. I love that there's just so many different backgrounds and cultures that have come together in this community that really desire to know God, know themselves, and know their true twin flame. And so I really am looking forward to sharing why it's so beautiful to have this community have your back and help you move through any challenges that come up in your union.
Yeah, absolutely. I resonate exactly with your experience as well. I came to the community in December 2017, so it would be also about 6 years that I've been kind of like around. And I came like most of us come is kind of like, okay, I just need answers to whatever was happening in my life that it has to have a meaning. Otherwise, it's like what's the purpose of the whole situation? And I was like very kind of like the scaredy cat when they first enter a new place. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just like hide out here behind the fridge, and I'm gonna just like look and see what happens. And like it took me a while to warm up to the group. Like I was not, it was not something like normal or common. That's the word that I was looking. It wasn't common for me to find myself within a group of people that were actually agreeing in the same values and agreeing in like how to move forward in life and saying, you know what, we would like to improve. Actually, that was pretty much the opposite in my experiences. Also, even with my like biological family, was like, yeah, whenever there was change invited, it was like, yeah, no, no. And I was like always pushing, kind of like, okay, but this is not functioning and it's making everyone miserable. So just see, we can change it. No, 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 thank you. So it was like it was completely like new to me to find people who were actually appreciative of each other when they were inviting each other to look at something that might not be helping them feel better, whether there was an upset, a block, a pattern, or anything. So that kind of like kept me okay, okay. This seems to be cool, and I had my upsets, and of course I had to work through them as well. But like Kanisha was sharing, what I found that was cool is that I was able to find people that I could speak about things without feeling like I was being judged because of them. And this was also kind of like a little the experience growing up. It's like I would share certain stuff with my parents, and I never felt like there was that open dialogue. Or the solution was like very superficial. So yeah, okay, let's pretend like nothing happened, and that's the solution. And here I was with people who are like, okay, there's a problem. How about we look at it and see what's there? And I was like, okay, I would very much like that. I would like to see if like there's something that needs to be changed because it clearly is no longer the way of doing things. And like little by little, I just started growing, like kind of like in love with it. In truth, I started building like certain relationships, and I started appreciating people. And like the longest standing students at that point from the teaching, and was like, okay, they have something here. They have something of value here. I feel like I can stay here and see where it goes. And years went by, and our relationship still keeps growing and deepening and evolving, even when you are still having like upsets with other members. Like this happens everywhere. You kind of like you relate to people, and upsets are bound to happen. Like that's the most normal thing. But the cool thing is that we help each other through them. And that was kind of like key in very challenging moments too. Like I remember when I was revealing Paco's my twin flame, that was a very challenging time. And like I felt so loved. I had at that time we were having class, like coaching classes with Jeff. I was doing Sundays. Paco was going on Saturdays, and I remember on my Sunday class, Jeff was personally kind of like helping me through my upsets with the whole revealing process. And after the class ended, a couple of my classmates reached out to me and say, "Hey, Dave, like if you need to talk about it, I'm here for you. Uh, let me know if I can be of any help. Like, you know that I moved through the same experience, so I would be happy to share like what my insights are, or like anything that may help you move through this. We know it's not the easiest thing to do right now, and that's okay." And I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever felt so loved in my life. So I am still, like, to this day, I feel very, very grateful to be part of the community and to have the relationships that I have here. It's an amazing group of people, to be honest.
Yeah, that has been my experience too, being part of this community. And I also went through this whole like, I want to give up. I'm so done with this stuff. I feel like everybody goes through this on their twin flame journey at least once, because it's just such a deep journey of healing. And you really need to come face to face with your deepest fears. So, of course, those things are going to come up to the surface. And for some people, it might look like their twin flame not choosing them, not communicating with them. And it might be tempting to say that, hey, nothing's changing on the outside, so what's even the point? All of us go through that. And what's so cool about this community is that there's so much of an emphasis on like persisting and claiming what it is that you desire in your heart. Like, don't focus so much on what's happening on the outside. Don't focus on the upset or the bad feeling, and don't just focus on the problem and make that the only thing that you see. Focus instead on making yourself feel good, on self-love, building a life that you love. This has been so important to me because I've noticed that in the world, it doesn't really happen as much. There's not so much of an emphasis on that. Instead, it's like, yeah, you can get together with friends and you can talk about your problems and everybody complains, but there's never really a solution. There's never really moving forward. It's just venting. On the other hand, what I experience in this community is that there's so much uh, of a, it's more solution oriented. Like, yeah, right now I feel bad. What are you going to do? Do the mirror exercise. Feel good. That's the first step. And when you feel good, you just notice that there's this divine inspiration that comes in. So you get all these ideas on how the problem can be resolved. And sometimes it is resolved on its own. And it's really powerful to have people to remind you of that, that you don't have to like settle for feeling bad. You don't have to just vent about things. There is a solution, and the solution is feeling good now. And also, it really helps to have people encouraging you, especially when you don't really believe in yourself. Like, we all go through those moments when we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in our union, we don't believe that we're going to have like the life purpose breakthrough or the abundance breakthrough. So it's really important to have people around who can really encourage us. And like for me, it's always been really sweet that they can encourage people in return. My friends in the community, when they're feeling a little bit bad, helping them with that. It's a really beautiful and supportive relationship.
Yeah, what I you touched on was like the solution oriented. What I really love about this community is we really say no to codependency. Like, I have no problem guiding you and helping you through the upset, but at the end of the day, you have to make the choice to want to heal here. And that is one of the things that I really love, is that we can encourage each other to be like, do you desire to sit in this upset and feel bad? Or do you just want to move through this? Like, I'm here to hold space for you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you see. Um, Maybe in some places where you might be numbed out, like, hey, I encourage you to feel into this one, or feel into this perspective. Like, those things I really appreciate when it comes to the community, because it 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 tends to be easy to want to numb out and just ignore the upset when it's just you. But when you genuinely make connections in this community, and you make relationships with people who unconditionally love you and have learned that, like, nope, they're just in an upset and I love them enough to be able to point it out to them. We in the community call that discipline. Like, sometimes we have to discipline each other. I'm like, hey, like, you know how to move through this. Like, you can either sit here and numb out, or we can actually move through it. And when you help someone else move through an upset, you naturally receive too, because there's actually a spiritual purpose on why you were the one who was there to help them move through it, or vice versa. So I really appreciate that in this community, we always say no to ego, we say no to codependency, and we really take full responsibility of our own healing. And another thing that I really love about having that is having Jeff and Shalia pave the way, and like showing that within their own union. They've been very vulnerable in a sense of being open to doing the mirror exercise in front of us. And so to have them do that, our spiritual teachers, our gurus do that, it really does create this level of safety and security of like, okay, they are teaching and doing, or they're doing what they teach, they're doing what they preach. And so it really does have an impact on me. And for me, that's why I've stayed as long as I have, is because I'm like, I'm physically watching them do this, and then you get to see them have the reap the rewards of their inner work. And it's just like, okay, like, you can't deny it. You literally are experiencing them moving through it, and then also experiencing the love that comes from that. And so um I'm a very logical person. I was very like, I'm one of those people who are like, I have to scientifically see it, or it needs to be proven in some type of way. And I've also come from a background where my trust and my boundaries have been completely shattered. So I was not someone who was like, yeah, let's just jump into this and I totally 100% believe this. No, I came in it at like tiptoeing into the water of like, you got to prove to me that this stuff actually works and this is real, and that I'm safe here, and that I'm going to be loved. And 6 years later, I'm just like, yeah, this is my family. My community has become my family, and I love seeing everyone thrive. I love seeing everyone um, go from where they started to where they are now. A lot of them are in union or close to union, and so it's a really beautiful evolution that you get to watch in the community as we all continue going deeper.
I love that you touched upon that, because like my experience was the same, and I find it over the years, like I was also kind of like having to test drive it and see, okay, like, is this a place that I can actually finally relax and trust that like people are having my back? And I love how you share your experience about like not only seeing other students and kind of like almost colleagues at this point, or members of the community, but also kind of like Jeff and Shelia, who are like the setting example for the entire teaching. In truth, it's not like they are the only ones, but they are the ones who kind of like received this tool and decided to pass it along. And I remember like receiving, like you were saying, like the discipline. Like Jeff was very disciplining with me at the beginning. He was already pointing all the stuff that I was like, they were not really very helpful for me in that moment, and I had my resistance to receive it. I ended up receiving it later on my journey. But there is something that I love about this particular community. That is, first of all, a lot of us are willing to do the uncomfortable thing of like guiding someone to that place that maybe it's not the most comfortable place to look at. And it's okay, we all get that. Like I had my upsets too, and I still have my upsets whenever someone may be pointing something, because it tends to be a very painful place inside of me, in truth. But it's also a very safe space. I'm amazed at, like, when I'm able to move through a healing, and especially kind of like deeper layers of something that is very ingrained in my mind, like in my consciousness, and come out of the other day, of the other side, and see like, wow, like they were really holding a lot of space for me to kind of like crack this one out and get to the core of it, and actually like bring that love and that healing that I've been looking for. I feel like we are all here because we are looking to find something that helps us feel better after going from one place to another, feeling like we are not really finding the solutions, or the solutions that we are finding are very slow for our like what we would like to be experiencing. And I'm not saying like 2 or 3 years, I'm talking about, at least in my case, was like looking at decades of the same thing repeating over and over and over again in my relationships, and me trying to kind of like crack my skull trying to understand why this was happening and why was barely changing, because even if there was a little tiny change at some point, I will still end up in the same place. So after finding the teachings and applying them and realizing like, oh, I have like a highway to my solution now, I also have a space where I don't have to do it alone. A lot of the times I have to look at things that are scary as fuck, I don't like. I would rather not see, like Anisha was saying at the beginning, I would rather settle for like something other than this that is challenging as F. But the community is like, no, you can do it. You have the power to move through it. You just have to choose to do it at whatever pace that's okay for you. Just put one step at like after the other, take your time, process it. We are here for you if you need us, you know what to do. And especially at the beginning of your journey, when you have absolutely no idea what the bleep is going on, and you just pop a question, and you always have someone giving you a nugget. I cannot tell how many times I was like reading through comments at the beginning under somebody's post or somebody sharing about a class, and me saying like, wow, that's actually true. Like I totally resonate with this. How is it that I could not see it before? And I was like, okay. And then I grabbed my journal and I did a mirror exercise. And I was like, wow, like this actually works. But like any other group and community, I feel like it's important for anyone joining, new, old, in between, doesn't matter, to always give ourselves the space to kind of like try it on and see like, okay, what are we truly finding here? Because otherwise it doesn't quite feel good. Like if you don't make it like your own, you don't really would like to be staying. And that's been kind of like my process, and what made it possible for me to almost like claim you as my family. I feel like this community is kind of like my spiritual family, to put it in a way. And yeah, like in my personal experience, at least, I received more support here from people who perhaps barely knew me at that time than my parents, and in certain aspects, like where they were unable to support me because they lack the tools to support themselves too. So it's like, okay, this is as much as they could extend, and that's okay. They like, we are all doing the best with what we can with what we have, and but here is like you have more powerful tools. So I find that very cool.
Yeah, you touched on like there was something that Jeff and Shalia had, I think, let a lot of us know prior to like really coming deep into this community. It was that they would be the ones to trigger all of our parent wounds. I remember them like stating this at one point, and I was just like, okay. And then there'd be times where I would have upsets, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, upset with my parents, but it's Jeff or Shalia who's triggering this upset just by being themselves. Like they aren't intentionally trying to trigger me. It's just them being them. And then I'm like, oh, they're right. Like a lot of my parent wounds are coming up. And then having my friends in the community are like having siblings sometimes. Sometimes they trigger a sibling upset that you gotta work through. And so at the end of the day, it does definitely feel like a family. And I do want to like touch on, especially if there are new members who are joining and checking in on the live of, I know there's been a lot of talk about the documentaries and about people being removed from the open forum. And that is like part of the case is like this is a family. And so if it's not respectful or it isn't loving, or if it's coming from a place of ego or trying to attack or trying to do something, like there is a deep level of protection over a community like this because we choose only love and we choose to only focus on love. And so if something's not in alignment with love, we really work on rooting that out because that's the process of purifying your consciousness is rooting out anything that isn't love or oneness with the divine. And so that can be kind of hard for newcomers coming in or new people exploring this because they're learning what it means to be in a space that is unconditionally loved, where we're not going to entertain ego or entertain just uh, meanness or harshness or rudeness in any type of sense. Like we really genuinely desire to unconditionally love one another. And that requires us to be completely honest in that space. That's one of the things that this community does really well is honor the 8 keys of harmonious union. That's something that really encourages me to be the best version of myself because my community is in alignment with those values too. And so it really holds all of us to a standard in a sense.
I love that. And since you mentioned standards, like I feel like the standards are also very high, and that's a good thing because it's
Mhm.
really encouraging people to become the best version of ourselves. And ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here for ascension. We're not here to stay the same and keep doing the same things that we've been doing. Like we wanted a solution, we wanted a way out of suffering, and here it is. And I feel like this is such a beautiful thing because, like, even volunteering, it's really helping you to grow in your talents, in your skills, in your life purpose, and as a person, because you get to like connect with others who are, you know, you have to partner with them to bring out the final result. And maybe there's conflict happening, and you need to handle that in a peaceful way for everyone involved. And all those experiences are really beautiful because they help all of us grow. And I've noticed like how different it is in this community compared to other places where I volunteered before. And there's such an emphasis on choosing God and choosing love instead of just, you know, he did this, she did that. Like none of that matters. It's all about like choosing peace and serving God and serving love. And that's really beautiful. And also, something that I think is really cool about this community is that I have noticed that people are very encouraging when it comes to your success as a person. It doesn't feel like anybody's like jealous of my success or like, I don't know, feels bad about it. It feels like we're all encouraging each other. And this is beautiful. Like, your success is my success and vice versa. And that's why we're all growing because we're all encouraging each other because we all know the divine truth that, you know, we can all succeed. There's plenty, right? Union is not just for the select few people. It's not about being lucky, and we can all get there. We can all have harmonious union. So, you know, why not encourage each other in the process?
Yeah, amen. And it's we have to admit that it feels nice to have like people on the like on your corner when you're like seeking to achieve something. It doesn't matter if it's your twin flame union, your life purpose, your perfect job, body, house. Um, like Kanisha was also sharing, like those of us who've been here long enough, like we've shared every tear, every like drop of blood, every challenge alongside of the one who was walking it. And it's a wonderful thing to see like what everyone has been able to manifest as they kept walking like on their journeys, and like myself included. It was wonderful. I remember like when we were finally achieving union in the physical with Paco, and like I landed in Austria, and we kind of like settled down after a 3-hour drive from the airport to where we were living there. And like everyone was so happy to share, like, yeah, like you did it, like after all this time. And the same, like it comes and goes around. Like we've been so happy to see like the unions coming together, the people manifesting a better house, a better job, those getting engaged or in harmonious union or getting married to their twins, or like have success in bringing this teaching to their families and saying like, wow, I'm able to resolve situations with my children better now than how I was doing it before, which was pretty much like how I learned it to do it from my parents. Like that's also kind of like my experience as a parent. I was always very happy to be able to kind of like extend this in my relationship to my son. And like it is kind of like a very nice, warm, cozy energy that you get like when you finally realize like, oh wow, like even the silent, like kind of like the silent auctioneer, like the silent members of the community, when somebody's sharing about a breakthrough, everyone gets on board, and everyone is like standing ovation, clapping, that you had the grit to move through it, and that you didn't give up, something that Christine was talking at the very beginning of the life too, that you persisted, that even though it looked not very nice, you still chose to see the situation for what was in truth, and not just like what it looked like, which is something that this teaching has helped us do. And it's just like learning, okay, what's the lesson there? And when you get the lesson, oh boy, oh, the reward is so juicy, and everyone is like super happy and like thrilled about it. And I feel like that is one of the most beautiful experiences I've been having with this community since I began. It's like, wow, people are actually like clapping that I got the result.
Mhm. Yeah.
That was not my experience growing up. I
I
was all
love
there like having my big nice moment, and this was always kind of like spiking stuff with my sister, and it was always not a very nice situation. Like it always ended up being a very unpleasant experience for everyone, and not just for me. But here it doesn't happen. And I love this that Christina was sharing. Like even like there's no true jealousy. Like sometimes maybe someone like is experiencing a success, and you may be getting jealous because there's a part inside of you that believes that cannot get it. But when you realize that you can, like it's like the happiest experience ever. It's like, oh, they can get it. That means that I can get it too. Because like she was saying, we are not a selected group, but we are not special people. We are people coming from all walks of life. Like we are all around the world. We have different cultural and religious backgrounds. And like Anisha was saying, this is scientifically proven that you apply it time and time again, you follow the steps, and it works. So why wouldn't it work for you too? Just have to give it a try.
What you're touching on too is like we say it all the time is that it takes a community to raise a harmonious union. This is very true. Especially because there are a lot of upsets, a lot of deep wounds that will come up on your twin flame journey, and trying to do it by yourself. I was one of those people who was like, I do not need twin flame ascension school. I will figure it out. I'll watch all the YouTube videos, blah 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 blah, and I'll be just fine. And then there finally came a point where I was just like, yeah, I can't do this by myself. And when I really started implementing all of the resources that was given to me, that is when I started to have massive breakthroughs. Because I was really, what it was happening was because I wasn't open to receiving this gift, all of this love of Twin Flame Ascension School and Life Purpose class. Like I call those the meat and potatoes of, of the community in a sense, because you really get to experience all depths of upsets that could possibly come up in your union. And when I started allowing myself to receive that, I recognized that my block to receiving all that love is the same block that I have to receiving my true twin flame. And that was really important, that I was allowing myself to open up to the work and allowing myself to invest in myself. But ultimately, it does take a village to raise a harmonious union, because there would be moments where you touched on where someone would share something and I didn't realize I needed it until I read it, and then it was kind of the next step for my union, or me sharing and someone else receiving something and they're like, wow, I needed to hear that right now, thank you so much. Like, we're all here helping each other. And if one of your brothers and sisters are having success, Shalia says this in the romance attraction course, where she talks about, if you see couples, instead of being like sad that you're not with your twin flame or in a couple, bless their union, because that love is for you too. And by blessing them, you will receive that blessing back, because you get what you receive, you get what you give out. And so that made a lot of sense to me, because there would be times where it's like, wow, they're talking to their twin flame and I haven't heard from my twin flame. And naturally, you could easily go into that ego or into that separation consciousness and seeing them as separate from you. But that's really what this work does, is to heal that. And there will come times where before maybe you had been jealous and now you're like, no, I have so much gratitude and just happiness for their success, knowing that it's for you as well. So having a community is really going to shift your life in many ways. I said this in my post recently, like, there are friendships in this community that I did not know I needed, but God knew that I needed them, and vice versa. And so I've been very blessed and grateful in that way. And it's also encouraged me to love and give more to my community in my hometown, where before I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that because I'm naturally used to being hurt or people betraying me. But now I have this discernment due to my community, that I can go out into my community in my hometown and be like, okay, this feels good to me. Yeah, no, this doesn't feel so good. So I'm going to just pull back my energy and maybe go a different direction. But really, I've, I've had to say this before. It just really feels like this was a godsend. This was something that I had God for before really coming into this community. And that was also something that Jeff used to say to us all the time, or in any part of the community, they'd just be like, go to God. How do you feel in your heart? What does it say in your heart? And at first it used to annoy me, because I'm just like, can't you just give me the answer? And they're like, no, that's not me loving you. Me loving you is by reminding you that God is your source. And as you go within, your answers are already there. What you're looking for is already within you. So they're only ever just pointing us back to ourselves and how to really have a healthy, loving, trusting relationship with ourselves and with source. And that right there is so important, because you can pass that down to your children, your family, your friends. You can really teach them how to be the creator in their reality, instead of being a victim to circumstances that are happening. That's been probably one of the biggest transformations in my life, is going from victimhood mentality all the time to really seeing myself as co-creating with God. And if I don't like something that's coming up in my reality, I can go within, I can use the mirror exercise, I can shift, I can heal, I can change. And then you naturally will start to see that resolve itself in your reality, including your twin flame union. And so it's by far one of the biggest blessings. I've received more from the community and from this work than I ever invested into it. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I need to invest more, but God's just like, you just loving yourself and loving me and loving the community is you investing into the community. Like, allow things to unfold naturally instead of trying to um make that happen. Just allow it to just unfold. So you will receive so much more than you could ever possibly imagine by just saying yes and giving it a try, and allowing yourself to explore it for yourself. You have free will. No one can make you choose to do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I had those moments, like when I was saying at the beginning, I remember like Jeff was at the very, very beginning, and I was like, why don't you get a job? I was so triggered and upset about it. Like, I already kind of like came from having an upset about doing something that I didn't like. And I didn't realize at that time, like, in truth, how compassionate that would have been to be able to sustain myself with like a job. It didn't matter which one, but just to have like that foundation handled instead of being in this place where I was constantly spinning my wheels and like freaking out. Oh my God, I don't know, like I don't know if I'm gonna have to eat. Or that was not a nice experience. In truth, he was helping me. Of course, he was touching in a very sensitive place, in a very hurt place, and I have to move through it. But by the time I actually got to the point of applying that he was suggesting to me in the first place, I like everything made sense. I was like, oh, I understand now why he was saying this to me. This would have been the best option. I just couldn't see it in that time, and that was okay. I was still like supported. The beauty of this journey is that even if you feel like everything around you is falling apart, uh, the divine still supports you in some way, even if it doesn't look like you would like it to be, and that's fine. So, and I found it very interesting because Kanisha was mentioning like the 8 keys, and one of them is kind of like, okay, respect. And respect means that you're honoring like what your experience is, that you can choose to move through it and heal. So yeah, like again, this is an invitation. Everyone is free to come and go. Everyone is free to try these teachings on and see, like, okay, is this what I've been looking for or not? Does this work for me or not? Okay, why not? Oh, because I believe it can't. But what if I give it a try? Would it still work? Well, yeah, but I have to give it a try. Okay. And you kind of like open yourself up to the teachings and the work and the community, but in a place that feels good to you. You should never feel like you're being forced to do anything. Not here, not anywhere. So I feel like that's a very important piece, because it can happen. But we a lot of times we allow ourselves to kind of like say yes to things that we don't really feel good about, but it takes us a while to figure it out. Like Anisha was saying, like, okay, I'm gonna explore this relationship with my local community and I'm gonna engage with it. And whenever I feel like this is no longer the right place for me, and I kind of like come to a peaceful resolution about it, then I can move on to the next thing and see what's there. That's okay. So since we are talking and touching upon the subject of community, I will invite everyone watching on YouTube to, like, if you are liking this, hit the buttons, like, subscribe, don't miss out any like content on Twin Flames, join our community, see what it's like to be like surrounded by like-minded people who are also rooting for your union. Like, we are all here like saying, yes, let's do it. How can we help you get your union, get into Harmonious Union? Like, we are missing on a party right here, and kind of like try it on. And for everyone watching live, the same. If you have any comments, please drop them. We still have a couple minutes. Otherwise, we will get to them afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're really touching on there is ultimately the purpose of this community is that we all desire to see everyone in the harmonious union because of how that vibration shifts the world of people being in union with their ultimate lover and having unconditional love and acceptance for one another. Like that absolutely changes so many things. And in truth, it is everyone's natural state of being is really what it is. And the other thing about this community is prior to this work, I didn't know what it meant to have boundaries, let alone healthy boundaries. And so that is something that you will find is going to be transformational for you, and anyone else is going to be learning how to have healthy boundaries and having that discernment and being able to speak your truth and to honor yourself and respect yourself, and really being able to move in the direction of just having healthy and harmonious relationships, not just with your twin flame, but in every area of your life. And so having a community is really important, because sometimes we can be in the middle of things and we can have a distorted perception, and having those here in the community who are like, just let's look at it from a different angle, like let's heal from the core and really move through this process all together. And that's one thing I really love too, is that we are not about cutting corners. We're like, let's move through every step of the mirror exercise. Like,
I
it's
think you
coming back
cannot
to
cut
the
corners
basics.
though, because even though you try, the lesson will still keep coming up
It
until
will
you
still
move
come
through it
coming back.
entirely. So there's no way
Absolutely.
around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you guys have questions or still desire just more on this topic, definitely feel free to comment below. We will make sure to answer your questions in any way. Those who are on YouTube and watching this later, definitely like and subscribe. But I really appreciate you all being here. Are you both feeling complete here in this space?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel rather complete.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, this was a beautiful conversation. Again, you have the opportunity to choose for yourself and really explore for yourself as you go deeper into this community. A lot of us, I think all three of us here have been here between 5 and 6 years, and I don't plan on going anywhere. I'm just so grateful that as I evolve, this community evolves, and my relationships keep going deeper into love and really helping me just become the best version of myself, but also helping me come into union with my true twin flame, because that's really what we're all here for, is to be in harmonious union with their true twin flame, and that is for you too. So thank you all for being here. You guys have a beautiful day, and we'll see you guys soon.